just the different things you can do. There's 3 basic angles that you should be able to create with the downspear, and then you can use those in a lot of different ways. A lot of the fakes, stuff like that. Then we'll go into managing weapon lengths. I think that is probably the biggest thing that takes someone from a mid-level or low-level downspear fighter who's new to high level, is how well you can manage the different lengths of the weapons. And we'll kind of go over that and talking about, like, depending on where you are, you have one weapon that is much longer than the other, but you can also do things to create balances where both weapons are the same length, basically in space, and lots of different stuff. We'll talk about that. We'll go in a little more into depth. And then the last thing will be defense. Specifically, I talk dealing with the press, because for most of us, you don't need to defend unless someone's pressing you, because we have range, right? So really that is what defense is when someone's closing, how are we going to deal with it, and how are we going to move back to a range, because at range we can just pick people apart, right? So that's all we're going to go over information-wise. We'll see how long that takes, what's left over. We'll do some live sparring, and we'll talk about where we can do better incorporating the downspear into things. We'll have some of us with normal gear, someone with normal gear fighting someone with downspear, and we'll look how we're integrating into the system, where we can change things, stuff like that. So, everyone comfortable with that? All right, fantastic. All right, so we're going to start with stance. All right. So, the biggest thing that I want to talk about first with stance. All right, so spear foot forward is going to be our standard poking range, right? We're going to be coming out here, poking. This is where we're doing everything. The biggest mistake that people make right off the bat when making with their stance is holding their spear like this, straight up and down. All right, there's a couple of problems with this. First, because your tip's so far down, it takes a little extra time to get up. But also, one of the biggest weaknesses is your outside forearm. And when you're holding your spear like this, you're pretty much giving it to everyone, okay? So in everyone's standard stance, I would like to see tip slightly off the ground and your hand cocked out slightly. What this is going to do is cut off that immediate angle and deal with that. Then at the same time, we're going to bring our sword over here so we're guarding this side, because with a spear foot forward stance, we're really projecting this side of our body. So I don't need to be protecting back here if we're keeping range, right? So I'm keeping here because I want to make sure my spear arm is protected, protecting it on the inside here and keeping the outside wrap from here, right? Does that kind of make sense? Mm-hmm. So everyone, we all get in that stance real quick, just so we look at it real quick. That looks pretty good. Can you get the tip up a little bit more? Yeah, that's better. So that's better. Tip in just a hair. Yeah, and now bring your sword over so that you're protecting it just a little bit. A little more projected for me. Your right sword. Right. So it's a little more projected.
Okay.
Arm out slightly. Yeah. Its tip can stay up. It's the difference between you're doing this.
Yeah.
All right. So this hand's here. I want it. Yeah, it's a little better. That's a little better. And that looks good too. Do you want? I'm gonna give him your down. All right, cool.
Thanks, Bane. Good looking out, man.
It's a little baby one.
Yeah, I'm alright with that. Use one.
Yeah, you can use
It's
mine later on.
It's barely past the short.
Yeah.
It's hard being disabled, damn it.
Well, how do you do that?
Bring this hand in just a little bit. Your spear hand in slightly, so it's closer to your body. So if you're lined up on me, that looks pretty clean. And the only other thing is I'd say this hand just a little higher.
Why?
Yep.
Which is counterintuitive to every other stance.
Well,
Yeah. Okay, so that looks pretty good. That's just for now. We'll go into like more detail later. So then we're going to talk about switching stances to a sword foot forward stance. All right. Now the importance of these switching stances, we're going to go into more detail later, is the effective range difference and where I can play, right? Because from right here with my shield foot forward, or with my spear foot forward stance, right, I can easily hit him right here. I can't come anywhere close to hitting him here, right? Now if I'm going to move into an elongated sword foot forward stance, I can easily hit him right here, and I can come much closer to hitting him right here, right? So there's a much more dual threat that I'm allowed to, use in this situation, okay? So let's talk about this stance. Once again, one of the more important things is I want this hand out. I do not want to be fighting like this. This is the #1 mistake every single down spear fighter is going to have. They're going to fight like this. This is a worse angle, takes a longer time to hit, and is worse on defense every way around, all right? So we want to be fighting like this, okay? You'll notice my elbow's in and my hand is out, all right? So like for you right there, let that hand come out slightly, all right? What this does is it already gives me a very quick stab in, right? And projects a lot of defense, okay? A lot of what I'm gonna be doing is projecting my defense, right? Because this is where I'm going to be fighting people. If someone hard presses, that's when I'm gonna tighten up and do something different. But the majority of the fighting I'm gonna do is gonna be people coming in and going like, you know, sniping out here because they're already having to stay at range, okay? So once again, elbow is gonna come out. This is going to give me a much better defense to the outside of my arm, and it's gonna put me in a better position to threaten at all times, right? If he steps in at all just to throw a shot, I can just throw this quick, boom, right, and step back out, all right? Once again, we're gonna bring that tip in to cover the center line, basically. Your tip wants to be a little bit more in. There you go. Keep the hand where it was. Yeah, that's looking better. That's looking better. So you're pretty good. I would still bring your tip over a little bit more. You see how my hand is projected almost in front of me instead of out here and over? It's right here, right? So I'm coming here. My hand's going to come basically straight out. Okay, sounds good. When you do it, can you bring your hand a little bit more to the outside? Yeah, and can the tip come up? You have the strength for that? Yeah, just a little bit less. Yeah, kind of like right there, so that you're ready to immediately poke
That way
in.
the weight of the sword is on
Right.
your palm.
I have to tell that. I'm not used to throwing that.
Well, it'll take a little time. We'll
Yeah.
talk about throwing in just a second.
Let's see how it feels different.
Also
Yeah.
pretty good if you can get that
Yeah.
hand just a little bit farther out. The tip can stay
see,
down,
also
elbow
when you
stays
press,
in.
right?
So
Push it
don't go
down.
from here
Yeah.
to here, just kind of here. Yeah, so that you're like really just cocked for an immediate
Right.
throw in almost. But it also gets you a better defense, right?
Yeah.
Same
Feel the
thing, we
control
just
you
bring your
get
back
from it.
shoulder
Okay.
back a little bit. There you go. Perfect, perfect. Because now you see, I've got a very hard time getting inside. You've got both things, and you're set to throw at any moment. Let's see. So let the hand come out. If your elbow stays, let your hand come out just a little bit. There you go. So you're out to the side like this. Drop this shoulder back a little for me. So you're elongate your stance a little bit. There you go. And then project this more out here. Right? So now we've got, see, now you've got a real strong defense. The only thing that I really have is trying to come deep inside, and you're sitting there threatening at all times with that. What do we got? Turn just a little bit. Okay, so drop your left shoulder back just slightly. Cool. So you're still lined up on me. Elbow come in a little bit. There you go. Sword more here. Okay. So that's looking a little better. You see how you're lined up? Your right hand can maybe come in just a hair, but that's good. And then this tip more at me, your hand drops back. Keep elbow in. That's a little bit better, right? So once again, you've got a pretty solid defense everywhere that I'm going, and you have a very easy threat at all times. Okay? Elbow in. And then right hand projected a little bit more. Yeah, you're gonna want your elbow in even more than that.
Oh man, that's so weird.
Yeah, like look at this.
My elbows.
Right,
crazy.
so that
Yeah.
you're ready to throw
Yeah.
straight from here. Yep. All right, cool. So
Yeah,
that's
so
going to be our basic stances. Now, one of the fun things about down spear is you can be lazy a lot of times, okay? So when I'm fighting normally, you're going to see me walking around like this, kind of moving around here, looking for different angles to throw in. But if it looks like I think they're going to press, I'm going to step right here into my stance because I need to be in a strong stance if they're pressing. Beauty of down spear is until they press though, you can fuck around all day. Like throw the legs, throw up over here, play around, you know, all those things.
You got that on tape, right? Throw to the legs.
Yeah. All right. So that's just kind of the basics of stance, how I teach them. So we're going to move on to attacking, right? So the first thing is we're just going to work on down spear and the basics. So I teach 3 basic angles that you need to know with a down spear, okay? We'll go through them all, see how we're doing. So the first one is your standard down spear attack. I'm going to lift my sword up, and I'm just going to throw my hand down, right? This is a very straight attack. This is the fastest attack that I can do as far as flicking, and it is perfect for people who are leaving a straight up and down pocket, right? So if
This is spear leg forward, right?
What?
This is spear leg forward.
You can do it either way. Spear leg forward is probably the more common way you're going to use it, right? From back here, you can still pop, but you're probably going to be dropping back more if you're spear leg back, right? And so we'll talk about it a little bit later. But yes, for the most part, this is my least used attack, and it is the most common attack you will see a normal down spear fighter use, right? The reason this is my least used attack is it has the worst angle to hit, but there are times when it is good, and that is specifically if someone is goal posting. If someone is giving you a straight up target, then we just want to go and just take that target straight, okay? All right, yeah, so if he's right here and goal posted right here, then I'm going to lift, and the second it's there, I'm just extending and turning my hand over. Now you got a nice mud spot. I'm just turning my hand over, right? And the reason I'm turning my hand over is to keep my point straight as it goes, okay? That's going to take a little bit of pelling, but we'll practice it a little bit and you'll see. So I'm extending and turning my hand over. Right, so we're going to push. I should have said this right before I had y'all start doing it. When we push with our down spear, these will be the two fingers that are controlling it, okay? If we keep a grip, then I end up turning it over with this big angle, right? Because my hand stays there. If I release, it goes straight, right? Okay? So these are going to be the main two fingers we're using to control the down spear as it stabs, okay? So this is angle number one. I'm going to go over all three angles, and then we're going to do a little pelling on each other to get a feel for it. Now, angle number two, this is the most common stab that I am going to use, is I'm going to be stabbing this way, all right? My hand is going to turn up, my palm is going to be straight up, right? And I'm going to learn to, once again, that final extension is two fingers. You'll see that? The final extension, boom. Now, this gives us a much better angle to get around stuff from the left side, since the majority of what we're all going to be fighting is sword and borders. This is the most common shot that you're going to need to learn to be able to use, because it gives you that better angle to get around the shield, okay? Some of the important things about this shot is learning to allow yourself to project your arm out to the side, right? So I'm not throwing it here, inside. I want to learn to be able to, I want to be able to step and throw it from outside coming in, right? This is going to give us that greater angle. Exactly, just like that. Let's see you do it one real quick. Yep, but you're going to want to stab in as you do it. Yep. Yep, cool, cool. That looks good. Yep, you're pretty good. All looks good. So you'll see as we do this, we're going to work on a lot of projecting our arm to different positions to get us the angles. The third and final attack angle, and then we'll look at it real quick, is going to be, as you might say, palm down, okay? And with this, I'm going to hook in and stab this way. This one will probably take the most pelling. It's the one that's the most difficult to control in the beginning. But, and when we do this, we really want to see if we can get the tip around someone. All right, so if he has, yeah, that was pretty good. If you put up a sword and board, or sorry, not sword and board,
14.
14, thank you.
That's what I thought. I was like, otherwise you're stabbing the shield.
Right.
Left-handed.
Will you drop your left hand back and get into a more elongated stance? Right, so if he's something like this, where he has a very obvious defense just set for this, a straight shot struggles to get into it, this is where I'm going to want to do something where I turn, because that's the pocket he's allowing to open. You'll see that? Yep. And it'll be the same thing. We can threaten lefties with this a lot, right? It's one of the few shots we can threaten lefties with, because lefty's not a great matchup board for us, but we can always turn that in to that hip, right? So let's go through those real quick. If one of y'all will be the pal, don't stab anyone hard, right? Just try to get the feel for it. We'll go at start at 50% speed, get up to 90% speed, but make sure you're light. Don't drive through with the hand, right? So we're just sitting there and going and seeing if we have that, right? So three things.
We've got an even number.
This way, this way. And then the final one, if you want to, you can even just push it straight out, because that is the straight one. It's just when we recover, we're going to push out and bring it back down to recover most of the time. That's not always the case, right? All right, so why don't y'all use each other? We got 6 people, use each other as a pal. Remember?